Welcome to the Dude Facts Podcast. Four guys who love coffee and corny jokes, talk life, church, and culture. In today's episode, we discuss whether or not Starbucks is still cool, and we tackle the controversial question, should Christians boycott Pokémon? We begin now.
Affirmative.
All right.
Oh, man.
Hey, we want to welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Dude Facts podcast. We want to thank all three of you for listening. That would be all of our moms except mine. But no, we are excited to get this journey started. It's something that we have talked about for days, and and we're excited for it. My name is Josh, and I'm here with three friends of mine. All four of us served together in ministry back about a decade plus ago at a church in Tennessee, and we've got some stories and just some experience that comes from that time, and then ministry since then that we thought might be fun to share with the interwebs, things dealing with life, church, and culture. So I tell you what, before we really do anything else, because we're not sure what all is going to happen in this podcast, let's maybe go around and just introduce ourselves, fellas, if we can. And why don't we start with Ryan? Because you're next to me on my screen.
Okay, you're like on the opposite side from me. Okay, so my name is Ryan. I guess
Ryan, hold on.
I'm the youngest of the group, right?
Yeah, hold on a second. Hey, so we're learning in this podcast. Grant, we can hear like everything.
It's like every ice jingle.
Your ice has already stolen the show.
That's right. And we're probably not going to edit anything out. So
good.
Sorry, Ryan.
No, it's all good.
Sorry, Ryan. Tell us your name again, Ryan.
Yeah, no, Ryan. My middle name is Patrick, in case anybody was wondering. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not.
Oh, yeah.
Social, last four of my social.
After who?
Wait, what? Oh, yes. Well,
yeah, it's Patrick because of
I guess
what?
I can tell that now. My name is my first name is Ryan. My middle name is Patrick, named after two of the greatest men of the 80s and 90s.
Patrick Swayze,
Nolan Ryan, and Patrick Swayze.
Really?
So
yeah,
Yes. Roadhouse.
When your parents don't know the gender of their baby and or thought that their baby was supposed to be a different gender, and then they're born and they have to think of a name on the spot, that's what happens. So,
Okay. So they did know after you were born. That's good.
But yeah, no. Thankfully they knew. Hopefully the jury's not still out on that one. So I think I'm the youngest of all of us. I am a cool 33 years old. So it makes me the youngin of the group.
Larry Bird.
But yeah, right. But yeah, so I worked with these guys. I think I was a student ministry intern with y'all for, I don't know, a good 2.5 years or so. It was a good minute while I was in college. And then since then, I've been on my career journey of different jobs and worked in IT for a little bit. And now I'm currently in a financial management position where I've been the last year. So in the meantime of that, I've just, I fill in, do a lot of worship leading, helping with different people that I've met over the years. And it's kind of like where I'm currently at in ministry is just, kind of filling in where people have need.
Awesome.
Nice.
We have an applause.
and
button.
oh wait, we're learning everything here. There is one, I think. Let's see.
Nice warm applause. That sounds good.
We could have almost done that one ourselves.
It's much more fun to push the button though. Yeah. So we called him intern Ryan. But on the podcast, we're calling
factoid.
them bone saw. Oh, factoid.
Yeah, back in the day, I was factoid.
Factoid will probably make an
Yes.
appearance at some point. We're excited.
Fact Master Flex.
Strange and unusual facts.
Well, Ryan, we're glad that you're bringing the youth to the podcast. And by that, I mean your age.
Right. Well, you know, I don't bring in the young crowd anymore. I'm creeping into the the middle-aged crowd. So
yeah,
we're just a bunch of grown dudes.
Gone are the days that you went to go see movies with a bunch of 6th grade girls, right?
Definitely long gone.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Lottie Moon rap video, you need to know what we're talking about. He's not a creeper. We just need.
That's right.
Well, as far as we know. All right.
There was
Grant,
a church who borrowed that video, and they wanted to cut that part out. I think because of the old reference, but also probably because Ryan mentioned sitting with 6th grade girls.
They could. Could be a slippery slope these days. All right, Grant, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Grant Welch. I serve out here in Washington State at a
nice
church.
Glasses, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. We'll get it done, I'm sure. I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, so my office is navy blue and burnt orange, not to be confused with the Denver Broncos. But yeah, I served with those guys in that church in Tennessee in the summer of 2010. And I think you guys had me back to speak at your camp in 2011. And I was the pastoral intern of the church. So you three got to hang out.
Wait, hold on a second. You were whose intern?
The lead pastor's intern, even though
you weren't the youth ministry intern?
No. Which
could have fooled me.
you could have.
That's news to me.
The weird part about that whole summer was, like, Ryan had his cubicle right outside of both of your offices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you barely use it. We were usually hanging out in one of your two offices. And then down the hall in the corner, I inherited some guy's office that had like just retired. And I was just there for a summer. And there was like a secretary attached to that office, some older lady who my supervisor that summer said, yeah, I mean, if you have anything for her to do, just, give her things to do. I don't know anything. I don't know who I'm working for that whole summer, really. So every morning, hey. Good
so
morning.
You were an intern with an office assistant.
Yeah.
Man.
It's nuts.
Who was getting paid, but you were not.
Yeah, corner office too.
She was getting paid. I wasn't.
Yeah, right.
She took my calls. It was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so after my wife and I met in college in Chicago, we came out this direction for seminary and did some church planting, and the church that I planted merged with an existing church, and yeah, just living the dream.
Yeah. Nice. Up in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Upper left.
Yeah.
The Pacific Northwest, let's be honest. Or the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. More often than not.
That makes sense too.
Yeah.
Well, Grant, we're kind of happy you're with us. I mean, no, we are.
Just a little.
All right. Just a little. Yeah. All right, Jeff. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Jeff. I worked with Josh Phillips there and these other two guys for a few years. Josh and I have known each other for a long time. We grew up together, at least high school, knew each other all the way through seminary and all that good stuff. So we've been friends a while. And then I've known these other guys a long time too. I was Ryan's youth pastor down in Texas before I went up to Tennessee. So I was a youth pastor for quite a while. Now I am an Army chaplain. And so I always say that I was a youth pastor of youth. Now I'm basically still a youth pastor of youth carrying automatic rifles. So it's similar to working at a church in like rural Arkansas or like lower Alabama or something like that. It's very similar. I'm currently in South
Jeff.
Carolina now, just for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Jeff, do you know where
Oh.
a king keeps his armies?
A king keeps his armies. I think I've heard this before, and I'm mad that
Anticipation
I
of
can't remember
the really bad pun.
Up his sleeveys.
Yeah. That's one of those jokes I would tell my daughter, and she'd roll her eyes, but she's secretly laughing. Yeah.
And she'll retell it.
Yeah,
Where
she
is the
will,
laugh
when I'm
track,
not
man?
So yeah, I'm currently in
And
South
so now-
Carolina doing some training. That's why I'm in this weird hotel room. But no, I'm currently back in Tennessee. The Army has sent me back to Texas, then back to Tennessee, then to New York, and then back to Tennessee. So I've been all over the place. But still doing ministry as a chaplain, and then on the side, I'm like a huge runner. I try to write. I drink a lot of coffee, and still a part-time rapper every once in a while. So yeah, that's me.
Might there be some rap skills shown on this podcast at some point?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna have to. In fact, maybe what we'll do is like have a topic, and if people actually start listening, maybe entice them by saying if we get so many subscribers, or you throw out topics, we'll take those topics and do some raps, spoofs, bring back some Jay Philly, Jay Tizzle, Factoid, all of us. Grant made some.
Yeah, there was
appearances in some videos too, right? The Coco Rico.
I chugged some
And,
Coco Rico.
Cave,
Yeah,
the waterfall
right.
bath.
I want to link to that. I've been looking for that video for a
It's-
while.
I don't know if that's online. That's
might be.
sitting
There was
in a
a,
desk somewhere at our former church.
There was a purge that happened at one point.
I think
The
when
Great Purge.
Jeff and his brother and Ryan came up to Chicago to do a race together, we did this. What do you call that? Where you hand off?
Urban
Oh my goodness,
Athlon?
what's the name? Where you hand off the race? Well, it's called the Urban Athlon, but what kind of race is it?
Relay.
Relay race. Yeah, our relay team was called the Cave Bathers. Do you remember that?
Yes. And we had shirts.
I
Because
just want to make it clear that I was there to eat, not to participate in the race.
and you failed.
Get in my belly!
Ryan wanted his own challenge. And Ryan,
I miserably failed.
You need to share
food
about that challenge.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe we should save that for a story segment later on. Let's...
Hey, do you know how to keep
enticing
an
story.
audience in suspense? Do you know how to keep our listeners in suspense?
This is where we're going to start losing listeners, I think, Grant.
I'll tell them later.
Dad jokes.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll tell them later.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, another teaser. All right. We're dropping a lot of teasers. Rap videos, Ryan's food eating challenge, Grant's jokes. That's awesome. Well, it's a lot of fun to be back with these guys, and because it's been a while since we've done something kind of ministry related together. And believe it or not, that's kind of part of the hope of this, is that we're an encouragement to you, but we're going to have some fun with it. My name is Josh Phillips, as Jeff said earlier. And yeah, we knew each other back in high school. Went to church. Oh man, who's got the phone ringing? Dude, Grant. That's all right. I can keep talking. We went to high school together. We were in youth group together. We've got some fun stories from that time. We may have to act out the peanut butter skit as grown men on the podcast at some point. That might,
Yeah. How are we going to do that?
or we have Grant and Ryan do it. Yeah. We figured
With the
it out.
bread, that one?
Well, you end up having it all over your body.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
Well, Ryan
Jeff ate
both
peanut
in
butter out of my.
Nashville, so we can do it.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah, I'm grateful I'm not in your town.
So yeah, I served as a youth pastor with Jeff. After we went to seminary together, we actually ended up moving there like 2 weeks after each other, and ultimately lived as neighbors right? Or close, like just a couple doors
Yeah.
down. And then I moved away. He stayed in Texas, and I had an opportunity at this church to bring on another youth pastor, and I kind of got to pick who that was. And Jeff, I really did love you. I want you to know that. But I asked Jeff to come on, and he came on, and it was so much. Yeah, he did. It was so much fun together, working with these guys in the youth ministry there. Since then, I've been a part of a church plant, and then another church, and maybe I'll get into more detail of this, but I was out of work for about a year and a half due to a stupid tick bite. And now I run a home inspection company. So I'm kind of like the one guy that doesn't currently plug right. I don't know. Me and Ryan, we've got real jobs.
Yeah.
And but at our church, I do help lead the men's ministry and on the prayer team there. So I have a little bit of connection in, but we just have a lot of things. I'm 44. I'm about to be 44. Jeff, you're 44, right?
Yep.
And Grant, how old are you?
I'm old. I am 34.
34. So, we're not like ancient guys in ministry, but we've been in it for a while. And there's just some stories, some experiences, maybe a little bit of wisdom. And we hope to be able to share some of that with you. So that's who we are. And the next thing we wanted to do is maybe just kind of talk a little bit about, we've hit this a little bit, but why are we doing a podcast? Can you guys know why we're doing this? Yeah, that's what I thought. So we're not away from our wives.
Stark silence.
I don't have a cricket noise here, but well, one, we were bored and thought
to
it
my
would
church,
be entertaining.
That's not why I'm doing it.
Grant's got so much extra time. He downloads somebody else's sermon on Saturday and then preaches it on Sunday. And then...
Oh yeah, super easy. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think behind the scenes, we've had a Facebook chat with at least the four of us since at least that summer. So we've stayed in contact for anything major that happens, anything we find funny, we're sharing with one another, and it's been so fun and so rewarding that it's kind of overflowing into this, kind of letting other people hop into that banter between the four of us, and
it's a scary place to be.
It can be.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think we've had that connection, obviously virtually for the last decade or so, but had it while we worked together. And humor is such a part of, I think, all of us and who we are. And humor is also, I think, something that gets misunderstood in the church, and especially when it comes from somebody who has the title of pastor. And so it can be a hard balance. So when you meet guys who share the same appreciation for humor, but also love for Jesus, I think it's pretty cool. And I think just that sustainment over the past decade, it's clear that, we need to do something with this. And if people don't understand it, they don't understand it. But I think there will be a lot of people that do love it. And we hope to be able to share that with people.
Yeah, we were really blessed, honestly, to be able to work with such good friends in ministry. And I think all of us have been in a church at some point, in ministry where maybe we kind of felt alone or we were the only one. But we had a. It wasn't just us. There were many other guys around at that time that were just fun to be around, and we went through some hard stuff. At that church, I think ministry in general, it's messy. I've served around 4 or 5 churches, and they're all hard in different ways, but there were some especially hard things when we were together. And I was telling my wife the other day, like, I'm so thankful that we were together in that and kind of had a brotherhood with that. And honestly, if we were all like jerks and didn't know how to laugh or have fun, that would have been tough. And so that gift of laughter, that gift of humor, was really a blessing during those years, and I am glad that it's continued on. And Jeff, I think you're right. This podcast might not be everybody's cup of tea. I mean, the very first sound you hear is a fart noise in the theme music. That, you know, if you can get past that, you're going to make it. But yeah, we hope to, share some stories, hear some of your stories as well, and just kind of break down some things, you know, from life and from culture and our church experience that I think we all share, and can just enjoy those conversations with each other. So in each podcast, we're gonna take some time to cover a topic, and sometimes the topics are going to be very clearly defined as something, you know, about with a spiritual overtone. Something about church culture, something like that. Might be sports or whatever, who knows. At other times, it may just be straight up from culture, and we'll kind of see where our conversation goes. So we'd love to hear any topic ideas from you that you think might be good for us to talk about. And so right now is a good time. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening on Spotify, go ahead and hit the subscribe button there. Oh, you won't hit it on Facebook, but on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the podcast, make sure to like it, make sure to subscribe. We definitely want you to go over to YouTube if you're listening to the audio recording, because a lot of this, we're recording it video wise, and I think it's just funny to look at us laugh. I don't know, but maybe there'll be some visual things. But subscribe on YouTube and go ahead and comment. Let us know you're listening. And then any ideas you have for topics, we like to hear that. So we rolled the dice this week on episode 1, and we let Grant pick the topic. He did inform us beforehand, so we were able to kind of filter it a little bit, sanctify it some, right?
Yes.
But, no, it's all good. But Grant, you want to jump us into that topic?
Yeah. So today's topic is a question, really. It's interesting because around the time that we were serving together in that city in Tennessee, they got 2 of these. And I'm from the state where it originated. But the question is drinking Starbucks coffee still cool? Is it still perceived as cool?
This is a question for the ages.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the overall question is:
was it ever cool?
Was it cool? Yeah. Was it ever cool?
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
now it was the trendy thing to do in that town when we got them. I mean, you affiliated with one of the 2 locations. At first, there was only one. Jeff has a cup right there, and people went to them. My sister-in-law was actually living with us for a stretch. And she and her family owned a coffee shop in California where they were pouring, doing their own shots, pulling their own shots of espresso, and she could work an espresso machine. So she was hired by one of the first 2 in that town, quickly was promoted to manager. And so I'll say I had some cred in that town because I had to hook up at the local Starbucks. So there was a point where it was at least...
Is it known as Starbucks?
It felt cool.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Oh, yeah. Starbucks, the Bucks.
I haven't heard Starbucks.
Yeah, the Bucks was always the common.
Starbucks. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Starbucks.
Starbucks sounds like the kids
So
are
was
eating
it-
that also sells hot dogs.
I mean, what is a cake pop, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I've yet to see a grown man eat that in public.
Yeah, that's lame.
I
know.
Well, you can't see yourself.
Just don't make eye contact with anyone. We'll be all right.
Good point.
So was the Starbucks cool, or did it make you cool because you had the connection?
I found it cool because I was broke, so I got free drinks. That was cool.
I think the coolest thing for me was, so my situation with it is that after, being a customer of Starbucks in town, I then worked there for, the better part of 5 years.
Yeah.
So, the thing for me when I first started going there, because it was back in the day when the gold membership kind of first got going, and you could get free refills on coffee. So I would go there and sit there all day and do schoolwork and just do whatever and just have, coffee, as much coffee as I wanted for like $2. And that was like the best part about it. So I don't know if it was like necessarily cool, but it was just like the economical thing to do.
Yeah. Well, that's when the gold card actually was worth something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You'd get a free refill. Every like 10 drinks you
syrups,
got.
Like
yeah.
Stuff.
And I think like every 10 visits you would get kind of a free custom drink, something like that. And then on your birthday or whatever. But now like you've got to drink 100 coffees to get 50 stars to get, a tall. Yeah.
At one point, didn't they
I still
even give
go
away
there, but-
bags of coffee if you bought a certain amount? Because I remember drinking a bunch of coffee just to go get a bag of their coffee, and I really could have just paid like $10 and just
build
got
up
the
your
bag of
stars,
coffee.
and then like a certain amount of stars you could trade in for a bag of coffee, which you can still technically do that. It just takes a lot more stars, I believe. Because my wife does that regularly. Because
So you pay about
coffee
$500 in coffee to get a bag of coffee. That makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's like a consolation prize.
So let me just clarify something. Ryan, you still drink Starbucks?
Do I still drink Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's around. So I work in downtown Nashville. So my office is like literally like you walk out the door from my office, 2 units down is Frothy Monkey. So that's where I go most of the time now. But when I'm when I'm at home, obviously not in Nashville, Starbucks is like the only choice. That or there's a Dutch Brothers if you want like bunch of sugar milk. So that's always good.
That's for teenage girls.
Okay, and Grant, you still drink Starbucks, right?
Yeah, so this is a coffee culture that I live in. So they started in Seattle, an hour and a half up the road from me. In my town, I think there's 18. We're a Safeway kind of town. Every Safeway has one. Erica's first job, my wife's first job, was a barista at a Starbucks in a grocery store, and they're just everywhere. And like there's, in my mind, right? Like, so Eric and I have an espresso machine at home. We buy Ethiopian beans from this local roastery. There's like 2 that we'll even run through our espresso machine right now. We're very particular. It's milk, water, and coffee. No sweeteners, no nothing. It's like 10 days after the roast date. It's perfect for espresso, for crema. And it's just ideal, right? That's what we like. Because one of the notions I disagree with is the idea of a coffee snob. Because who doesn't like nice things?
Mm-hmm.
It's really, those people can justify spending that much of their income on those nice things, right? So that's what I like. That's what we drink at home. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to meet someone at a Starbucks because it's right by his home. And there's 18 in this town. And Dutch Brothers started in Grants Pass, Oregon, not far from where my wife is from. They're all over the place here too. I'm pretty grateful that most of them are drive-through, so you don't often meet people there. There's one here that has like swinging chairs inside. Some people like to meet at. Avoid it. So they're here, but it's just there. So it's like Starbucks became the new utility coffee. Before Starbucks, people were going to McDonald's for a morning cup of coffee. It's not great coffee, but it serves its purpose.
I like that definition, it being the utility coffee. Yeah. And Jeff, you're still drinking it because you have a Starbucks mug right there, right?
Yeah, I just bought this like 2 days ago because it's for South Carolina, and yeah, I mean, we like Starbucks. Now there's other things I like better. Obviously being able to make it at home, you can do what you want to do. Tailor it more towards your taste. But I agree with Grant. It's very utilitarian. I think at one point it was, especially for those Christian circles, pastors, back when everybody was trying to be reformed and drink coffee, it was, that was the place to hang out. And I think we still do that to an extent, but now, they're starting to branch out a little bit and discover other coffees. But yeah, it's just become so convenient and so widespread. Now, I will say, an up and coming big brand that I'm starting to like is Black Rifle Coffee. In fact, my hat is a Black Rifle coffee hat. So if you're just listening to this, you have to get on YouTube to see the hat. But I just I drink it because it serves its purpose, and it's there, and they make really cool collectible mugs, and I like mugs, so I'll probably keep doing that. Now fast food, like I've gotten away from fast food. I know McDonald's is there, but I hate McDonald's. I will not go to McDonald's unless I absolutely, literally have no other choice. Starbucks, I will still go to. I will definitely go to it over Dutch Bros because it's I think you have to be under 20 to really appreciate it. But Starbucks is just there, and so I'm going to suck it down anytime it's there and convenient.
Now,
and I still drink it. I mean, I was there today. So one, to answer the question, is it still cool? Well, the four of us still drink that. So
no.
Next topic. But what I like about it, and I know what I'm going to get. Like, that's the thing. I know it doesn't matter what Starbucks you go into. I love the Ethiopian roast. Wherever. Or whatever, even if it's the Pike, which isn't my favorite, but it tastes the same at every Starbucks, and you know what you're going to get. So I live about an hour and a half outside of Nashville, and in the town I live in, but the town I drink Starbucks in is only about 30 minutes from Nashville. But there's another place there called Just Love Coffee, and it's around the Middle Tennessee area in a few places. They've got 3 or 4 locations here. I would much prefer to go there. Their ambiance is really great, and the coffee is really good. And it's about the same price, but there's a tradition. Like, if someone, I don't know. I'm just drawn to the Starbucks, even if it might not be as good, because there's a comfort level there. And the ones I go to always I can always sit in the same spot. I know I'm going to be able to plug my laptop in or whatever. But I'm just a simple man when it comes to coffee. Honestly, I'm okay going to my 10-year-old Keurig over there and pouring in some Folgers in my make your own coffee K-cup and drinking it that way.
I was about to say, what Starbucks has become? It's become the Folgers of our generation, because all those old folks in the church for so long making the Folgers coffee, the burnt coffee that you drink in Sunday school that tastes like somebody's dead grandpa's ashes. I mean, that
Starbucks
kind of coffee is now exactly is the coffee we're drinking. I knew that Starbucks had lost its luster for me a little bit so I recently moved back to Tennessee from West Point, New York. So I lived at West Point for 3.5 years. There was a Starbucks a quarter of a mile from my house. I could walk there. And when we first moved there, I thought, I'm going to be here like every day. And I can probably, with all honesty, say in 3.5 years, I went there maybe 10 times. And I think I went there probably 8 of those 10 times because somebody gave me a Starbucks gift card. I honestly I got to the point where I wanted to drink coffee at home. I was so more inclined to make it how I like it, even though I will still drink it. But it definitely doesn't have sort of that all-star appeal that it did maybe a decade ago.
Well, I think one thing that would be fascinating with all of our backgrounds, Jeff kind of hit on it when it came to his hat. So coffee, I feel like in the Northwest, the culture here, we have a cloud over us, literally. It's the unicloud. It's like Northern California through Canada. You can't see where it starts or where it ends. It's just dark. And so because of that, we drink a ton of coffee. And there's so many excellent coffee shops here. You know, there's 18 Starbucks in my town, but golly, over 100 coffee shops and over, I think, 6 good roasters. And several of those are not the good ones, but there are several other roasters that roast Starbucks orders to locally distribute to their places. But I know one of the things that led to Starbucks, especially in Christian circles, being controversial is some of their politics. So there's some people that would go there for the consistency of flavor, and because even then, I mean, Starbucks was known for a while because of Frappuccinos as being adult Slurpees, and like the way we think of Dutch Brothers. I mean, that's how people were thinking of Starbucks, right? And then
still look at Starbucks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Moms and
but
yoga
then
pants.
you know, so moms in yoga pants holding up the line with their 5 orders of really no coffee. But in your town, isn't there a
And
Black
Ryan
Rifle
loving to wait on all
shop?
of them. There is in Clarksville. It's
4:30.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I bet they're thriving. Whereas here, in the Northwest, they're blue states where I live. If Black Rifle were to open up down the road, maybe the market would be a lot smaller than what it is in Clarksville, your town. My bad. I was the drop one. I was the one that dropped it. So I think value-wise, right? Like when Starbucks made an announcement that they were not going to allow, or they preferred no one carry, either open carry or concealed carry in their stores, people boycotted Starbucks. When they said they're going to hire so many refugees, people boycotted Starbucks. And Black Rifle made their statement, we're going to hire so many refugees, or so many service members instead. So I don't know. That's just an interesting idea. Like, is it no longer cool because, you know, here they're fine. That didn't affect their sales at all, I don't think, or at least a perception of people I spend time with of what Starbucks is.
So you're asking specifically from a Christian point of view.
Yeah.
Is it still okay? I don't know. My parents might listen to this. I don't know. They might.
Hi, Josh's mom.
My mom would have turned it off after the fart sound. My dad would have been like, "This is going to be good," and kept listening. But so my dad is completely, you know, against Starbucks, and it's a lot of that stuff, and he's got a true conviction over some issues,
right?
And I don't necessarily share those, but I see where they come from. So even in my life, I'm like, I don't know if I want my dad to know. So sorry, Dad, if you're listening. I don't even know if I want him to know that I go to Starbucks much anymore, just because even in my family,
yeah,
you know, there would be some of that. And it goes, you know, even more recently, things that might even be much more like of a spiritual concern. You know, that can be divisive.
Cups.
And the Christmas cups. Yeah. I mean, come on. We need to get Greg Locke on here.
That was when I worked there. That was when like the big, like real stink over the Christmas cups really started. It was a fun time.
Did any Christians cuss you out over it?
No, not me personally, but everyone was so up in arms, and I was like, "What do you think the cup is red for? It's for Christmas." It just was a design choice.
If anything,
Jesus celebrated Hanukkah.
Starbucks.
That's right.
Because they start putting out their Christmas cups way too early. And then in February, you're still getting a Christmas cup with stockings and snowflakes on it. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and I think Go, Josh. Okay, I'll go.
Well,
this is the inter or cross country nature of our podcast.
Yeah, that's
one of the things I think is interesting just about that Christian's perspective is we are so blessed here in the U.S. that we can influence with our money, and we have the option to make. I mean, we're choosing morally which coffee to put in our body, right? Like we can do that. Like, oh, I like guns, I'm gonna go here, or I don't like guns, I'm gonna go here to get coffee, right?
Yeah.
Our town has now 2 Chick-fil-A's, and it's a huge deal when we got the first one. And it's, oh, Chick-fil-A, go to Chick-fil-A, you go to Chick-fil-A, and they're a Christian place, you should eat at a Christian place. It's like, man, Christian chicken tastes just as good as secular chicken, and I like Popeye's onion rings, so I mean, it's chicken, right?
And that Popeye's chicken might be a little better.
I think it is. I don't know. Maybe
we
we'll
might
have to do
lose some
taste
listeners
tests.
over
Yeah, we
this.
might.
I don't know.
Forgive me. Well, but the
They're
thing I
both
find really
fantastic.
interesting, especially,
There you go.
they're both good.
One has seasoning.
One has season. But the thing with the coffee is, especially with the Christian consumers, saying I'm not going to go to Starbucks because they don't represent what I believe, right? It seemed to me, and this is me choosing to do ministry in this pagan Northwest, right? That seems anti-missional, right? Like if there's people that believe differently than me, and there's people that even, I don't know, champion things that I'm very much against, or my culture says I should be against, like, shouldn't we have more exposure to those people and rub shoulders even more so? I don't know.
You're kind of making sense, Grant. Watch out. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. We had mentioned maybe hitting this topic at some point, just, Christians and boycotts.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I mean, I remember when we were in seminary was when the first Harry Potter, I guess it was the first movie came out. And oh my goodness, like it was on. And, I've got a Southern Baptist upbringing, and, the convention itself, I'm not saying they had a specific boycott, but it was kind of convention wide. Like, we're not going to watch this. We're not going to read these books. It's evil. It's going to turn our kids into witches and warlocks and all this stuff. But then again, are we removing ourselves from a potential conversation? Because I know we've watched it. It's some of our favorite movies right now, but when we watched them with our girls when they were a little younger, it opened up conversation. One, we could talk about that, what's real, what's not, but then you're bridging. And I'm not trying to like talk anybody out of any personal convictions they have on things like that, because that's really what it comes down to. Where is your conviction that the Holy Spirit has given you, and you need to be obedient to that. But it allows us to like cross some divides with people who might not be believers. Hey, did you see that movie? And then just to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And instead of, no, I don't believe in Harry Potter, it's evil, and anybody who watches it's just open themselves up to demonic possession. And I don't know, I'm sure somebody can prove why I'm wrong in this, but I think things like this, when we get really worked up about that boycott, we're really limiting our opportunity, I think, to be influential in certain areas.
Yeah.
I think it becomes
especially because a couple
boycott too than convictions.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I think it becomes more about the boycott than it does what you believe. And I know there's that popular statement out there that people should know what you're for and not what you're against. And I think there's some truth in that, is people should know what you're about, and people should know who you love, who you serve. If you're a Christ follower, that you follow Christ. And it's not always about what you buy or what products you may consume or wear or whatever, but about the consistency in your life. Does it match with the things that you believe, that you claim to follow? And so while I'm not necessarily against boycotting, there may be a time and place for it. I don't always think it's the best choice. And I'm not just saying for Christians, I think for really anybody, there may be a time and a place for it, but it's not really a number one course of action, if you will, to use sort of an army term. I think for Christians, it's, James talks about, if you're violating your own conscience, then it's sin. So yeah, absolutely. You need to pray about it and follow the Spirit's leading. But Scripture also says in 1 Timothy to put the silence of ignorance, put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. So I don't think we do that when we in turn act foolish by going out and, looking ridiculous and boycotting really trivial things, I think, at times. And instead of looking to love people and engage the conversation, like I think both you guys have said.
So when I just look at it historically, even, like Harry Potter is a great, recent example, but then you look at something, look at like the late 70s and 80s with like, Satanic Panic and a lot of that stuff where people were really up in arms against like rock music or
Dungeons and Dragons
and all the stuff that is really like, it's these feelings are brought out of ignorance of something that they don't understand. And because of that, the actions that came of that ignorance, I felt like it did a lot of damage that could have been done, that could have not been a roadblock for Christians and people being a part of society, and just when you just shun something and don't try to understand it and just see it as evil, then you are shutting yourself off from connecting with a person that does not see that thing as evil, instead of having a conversation and coming to an understanding.
Yeah, there's a balance there, because you may think, okay, this could be a doorway to something dark, anything really can. Gosh, I mean, anything you just give yourself over to can, if it's not God, I mean, you're going down the wrong path. But it doesn't mean you have to jump into it. You just don't have to be a jerk to those who are in it,
Mm-hmm.
And I had a thought when Jeff was talking that, again, and I agree with him, like, boycotts in general may not be bad, but I wonder if Christian culture, when it comes to things like this, would maybe have a little more impact if we are also as passionate about, and this goes to what you were saying, like what you do than what you're against. But if maybe we're just as passionate about making sure the refugee is housed and the hungry are fed and the widow's taken care of and things like that, we don't. And there are Christians that are like that. I mean, and churches do amazing jobs in those areas. Every church I've been in has loved those groups, but we're not known for that. What we're known for is when it comes to the negative. And how great would it be if we were so known for the positive that when we came with something that was kind of more negative, we'd be listened to. Like, oh, well, maybe they're onto something, because we've seen how they've changed society in these other ways. Maybe there is something here with where we're spending our money, where we get coffee or whatever. But until we really get, I think, serious about those things, it kind of goes back, Grant, to what you're saying. Like we're acting this way about
coffee.
Yeah.
Well, and we did the same thing about those wizards, right? Harry Potter came out, and that was wicked. Like, what, a year later, the first, what am I thinking about? Lord of the Rings movie came out. And people said, oh, I think the guy who wrote those was a believer. So, those are good Christian wizards, even though it feels a lot
Lord of the
darker.
Rings was like a year and a half before, because my wife and I watched that on our honeymoon.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I read
Lord
Lord
of
of
the
the Rings
just
in my church library growing up. So.
Yeah. Which is just so funny.
It's got the same types of characters, though. You're right.
Yeah. But it's the same. It's
And
the
Lord
same
of the
thing, right?
Rings
Like,
was
that.
influential for Zeppelin. And, that's what people were crying about in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, that Zeppelin was satanic.
Yep.
And all he was doing was reciting Lord of the Rings quotes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of big nerds.
Because what happens is we feel like we vote with our wallets, right? Like, this coffee good, this coffee bad, this movie good, this movie bad, this thing good, this thing bad. And so if you think about Jesus' life, and every time that people try to get him kind of stuck and like choosing sides, he always kind of chose a third to keep engaging both.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Graham, I've been trying to find the quote because it's referred to so many times. Maybe it never even happened.
The evangelist.
Yeah, who's now deceased.
Okay.
The former evangelist. Yeah. He says something like, he tries to walk the line so he can preach to both sides. And I think we're so concerned about our own consciences being appeased that we forget the nature of, because if you're a believer, you're on the Titanic, but you know where the life raft is. So instead of making a big deal about your life raft, why don't you actually share where your life raft is so other people might know it? And you're not going to share where your life raft is with other people on your life raft. And that's what a Christian culture can tend to do. You just say, hey, isn't our life raft great? It's better than that life raft.
I want to say Whitey
Jeff?
Bulger said something like that too.
So I think Jeff has a top 5 for us. The top 5 crazy things that Christians have boycotted. I think I think this begs this. Hold on.
Well, let's start the insanity.
Get it?
I was gonna ask if you have sound effects after like each revelation here. So,
Oh yeah, I'll get you something.
if you have some good ones queued up, all right. So,
All right.
I'm gonna first do some others receiving votes because we've been talking around a few. So, I think Starbucks belongs on that list just because we know a lot of people that have boycotted Starbucks. So I'm going to start tame and kind of work up to maybe a few that are surprising. But yeah, Harry Potter, rock music, we know those things as well. But here's a few that we know and maybe have forgotten. So number 5 is the new Marvel show, She-Hulk. And I'll tell you why. There is a belief out there that She-Hulk is a trans character. Now, I've seen this show. In fact, I've watched, I think, every episode. And if they mean by trans that she turns into a green monster, then yeah, she does transform into a green monster. I'm not really sure why that's a big thing, but apparently there were a lot of Christians boycotting that, so kind of ridiculous.
And quick interjection: should we call it boycotting? Because it's 2023. I mean, should we call it people-cotting?
Yeah,
That's true.
Person-cotting.
That's true.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you for keeping us politically correct here.
In this case, it was Hulk-cotting. All right, so number 4. Number 4, I don't know if you guys remember this. This happened a few years ago. Christians were boycotting Major League Baseball. Not really sure why. But the Major League Baseball decided to pull their All-Star game out of the state of Georgia, out of Atlanta, because of some voter laws that were passed by Georgia. So it was really a political thing. And Major League Baseball made a political move, and then Christians decided to align themselves politically, I think, rather than biblically, and decided they were not going to boycott, or that they were going to boycott baseball. Now, I thought it was kind of funny because I don't even know a lot of people that watch baseball anymore anyway, but apparently Christians thought they were really going to lay the hammer down by pulling away from Major League Baseball. And I don't even know if they've noticed. I think still the same amount of fans in the stands.
I'm sure
for
that
baseball.
the Atlanta Braves did not notice a change in attendance.
Yeah. I mean, they're still doing the tomahawk chop. I mean, you think they care? Number 3 is Target. So if you remember the big controversy a few years ago, I think a toilet flush would have been more appropriate. So a few years ago, Target announced that their bathrooms were open to anybody of any gender, that you could use whatever bathroom you decide you would like to use. So if you felt like you felt more comfortable in a women's bathroom as a somebody who's born a man and claims that, then, Target's like, go ahead. So obviously that opens up a whole can of worms for Target. I'm not going to go into that, but Christians decided we're not going to go shop at Target anymore because of their bathroom choices. So, I thought that was kind of funny too. I don't even use the bathroom at Target anyway, or Walmart, because it's a risk no matter what. So,
yeah.
I try not to use public restrooms at all.
Yeah. You gotta, we can talk about this. Like, you gotta strategically plan your day, especially if you're regular, and you just, I'm not going to Target during 2 and 4 because that's, be smart, people.
That's right.
I have a strong road game.
My daughter
I have a good road game.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Can you explain?
So when my stomach...
I mean, the name of the podcast is Dude Facts, which we'll explain.
We'll get to that
some point.
momentarily.
Yeah.
So was Target number 3?
Yeah, Target was number 3. So number 2 is Pokémon. So I don't know if you ever heard about the big Christian boycotting Pokemon, but Christians were boycotting Pokemon because it teaches evolution, apparently. And because there are elements of Satanism in Pokemon. So, kids, I think this is more Grant and Ryan's, generation that traded the Pokemon cards. But hopefully it didn't lead you astray with its evolutionary talk and discussion.
We just boycotted the wrong thing. We should have been boycotting the grown men that were looking for the Pokemon. That Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
Like that's. I have some issues.
I think I was one of those grown men.
All right, you're off the show.
I think I still have it on my phone.
Oh man, you're all off. Maybe I'm the Grant. Did you do Pokemon Go?
I'm pretty sure the church is a Pokestop. There's a national park like a mile from here, and people play it all the time.
So maybe I'm the weird one here. Okay.
I don't know. We could have this discussion for a separate time, but I am a young, cool, hip guy, and I've got tattoos. Two of the things that we've talked about today, I have tattoos of
public bathrooms,
Dungeons and Dragons, and Pokemon. So that's good.
Oh.
Not public bathrooms.
What Pokemon do you have?
No, not public bathrooms. I've got a.
Are your tattoos in a place that we could see? Because I think we need to see these Pokemon.
Yeah, this little guy.
Oh, nice.
He's a ghost.
All right, Ryan, I need to apologize to you. My bad.
No, you're fine.
I think I just heard the sound of a few people unsubscribing because we just endorsed Pokemon.
Sorry, Josh's mom.
Yeah, right.
All right, so what's our number one?
Number
here?
one.
All right. The number one isn't a surprise, but it is the big entity that Christians have been boycotting for like 50 years. And there's always a new reason for this company to give Christians a reason to boycott. But then on the other hand, I constantly see my Christian friends and family fully endorsing this company too. And that's Disney. I mean, Christians have tried to boycott Disney. And I just think they honestly can't because they love it too much. And now it owns Marvel, Star Wars, like everything. And so if you give up Disney, you pretty much are just going to have to crawl in like a dark hole. And
well, and they're tied. Are they not also tied and owned by don't they own ABC and ESPN?
Yeah.
And,
ESPN,
I mean,
Hulu, all that.
Hulu,
There's just no
all
way.
that stuff. So. And I think that's part of it as well. That's one of the things I've thought about is like, I don't think it matters who you give your money to.
Mm-mm.
Like every company, every business for the most part has, maybe money's going somewhere where you don't want it to go in some way. And if you really want to boil it, like where do we draw the line? Because if I get, let's say I want to start giving money to Walmart, or I'm only going to give money to Walmart. Well, that money's going to all their employees who are then going and spending it wherever they want. Like your money ends up somewhere nefarious pretty much any time. And again, not to take away from people who have those specific convictions about certain places, but yeah, I think Disney is definitely that one because I haven't seen any slowdown in my Christian friends like going there. In fact, I can't wait to go back.
No. But it almost shows you the futility of boycotting sometimes, and not every time, but when we say we're going to boycott something, and Disney's a perfect example, but yet so many other companies and things are tied into Disney and come out of Disney, and then you say you're going to only go to Walmart, but then they sell Disney products. I mean, where does it really end? I think that's too much energy that we're spending doing things that really could be more beneficial to kingdom work. And so I think that has to be considered when you're talking about boycotting or wanting to just stay away from something to sort of show truth, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think bringing that back to the opening question of, is it cool? Right? I mean, cool is so subjective. I don't know, who cares kind of. But I think when I think back to Starbucks, like some of my biggest thoughts are like when I'm even here in this town, I'll see other pastors opening their Bibles with people and clearly counseling them. And I think, man, like I wonder how many people have come to know the Lord in this broken coffee house system that is so ubiquitous in my state, right? I don't know. I think that's kind of cool that he uses such broken things to still bring around life change. And I think I'm also drawn to even if you don't like Starbucks, even if you don't think it's cool, like, would you be willing to go there to meet somebody that says, hey, meet me at Starbucks? I think we should say yes. Jesus constantly went to some area. I don't know what area, but we have a couple stories of him going to some area. And one time he talked to this woman at a well. I'd like to find out what area. But it's a place that he shouldn't have gone to culturally or religiously. There's so many reasons for him not to have been there. Yet I think it's really convicting. In John chapter 4, it says he had to go, and he went for the mission. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, who cares if you don't go there? I don't care. If you go there, awesome. I'll be there tomorrow. It's not my favorite. I'll be there tomorrow. Whatever. Just don't be a jerk about it.
Yeah, and I think you sum it up. Like wherever we go, go on mission. Being willing and open to seeing what are the opportunities here, and wherever that is, wherever you're going, and like let's make that the focus. And I think God will definitely honor that.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your Starbucks tomorrow, Grant.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. Yeah. Only 100 more cups, and I'll get a free pound.
Ryan knows us all too well. When I was his youth pastor in Texas, and we did this a little at in Clarksville, Josh, when you and I were together as well. We'd meet guys like at Starbucks, some of our youth, and just hang out with them and have just amazing conversations. And we did that in Texas. Mm-hmm. I think Midlothian took a while for them to have a Starbucks, but we would meet at different restaurants for breakfast. I remember late nights at Taco Bell, and it's not about that particular company and if it's cool or if we're going to boycott it or not. It's just a venue, a place, an opportunity, and so using it for kingdom opportunities. And I mean, you can look like you endorse something, but really you're endorsing something much greater. And with that said, I have a Starbucks mug here, but I've been drinking Cafe Bustelo out of it all night. So, I'm not even drinking Starbucks, but it looked like that.
Cafe Bustelo is good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so go ahead.
Yeah, drinking coffee usually leads to wrapping it up and rolling to the bathroom pretty quickly.
That's right. So with that segue, thank you guys for joining us, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun in the weeks ahead. Our desire is to hopefully have a new episode for you every week. Make sure that you're liking the videos, like it and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast, and comment and share as well. We'd really appreciate it. We want to hear your ideas for topics. We want to and even hear some of your stories. So if you've been in ministry or you are in ministry, you've got some funny stories, man, share those with us. You can email us at dudefactspodcast. And that's not FACTS, it's FAX, like a fax machine, dudefactspodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to share some of those with our listeners as well. Okay, so right before we end, the name, Dude Facts Podcast. Believe it or not, there's some meaning behind this. And we want to know what you think it means. So we're not going to share it with you just yet. So if you have any ideas of maybe where that name came from, share those in the comments, send those to us, and let's see if anybody gets it right. Any other last words of wisdom?
No, but do you want to tell them how to find us on YouTube? The fastest way to find the actual channel on YouTube.
So the best way to do it, youtube.com/ the @ symbol, @Dude Facts Podcast. youtube.com / Dude Facts Podcast. There should be a link on our Facebook page, the Dude Facts Facebook page as well, and you can get there. All right. Hope you have enjoyed this and that you're not any dumber for listening.
That's the goal.
That's right.
Go out and drink some Starbucks.
Affirmative.
Dude Facts.
This has been a Dude Facts production. Thanks for listening.